It's that time of year again, training camp. A time that signals that the regular season is about to start. This year's training camp for the 49ers will be interesting, to say the least, with the addition of a new defensive coordinator in D'Amico Ryans and newly appointed offensive coordinator Mike McDaniels. And of course, the addition of rookie quarterback Trey Lance, which all eyes will be on that quarterback one spot. And who else will be making this 53-man roster? And in this video, I will be recapping the last 4 days of training camp as unbiased as I can be. Also, two things. One, I haven't really watched all the interviews that have happened. I've had the time to do so. Second, most of the stats and info come from 49ers Gold Mine because their coverage of this camp has been great so far. So, yeah, let's begin. Now, the day before training camp started, Kyle was interviewed, setting the tone of camp, and I'm only mentioning this due to a comment he made about what would be the main talking point of camp, the QB situation.
It's not a competition. It's Jimmy is the starter. He'll take starter reps, and then you mix the other guys in as you normally would.
Yes, yeah, there's no open competition right now in terms of they're getting equal reps with the same group. Jimmy's coming in as the one, Jimmy and Trey's coming in as the two.
This is what Kyle has been saying this entire offseason. Trey will compete when he's ready, and until then, QB1 is Jimmy G. But for how long is the question. Day one began before they even hit the field with Trey Lance signing his rookie deal finally. Some fans were worried he wouldn't. Don't know why though. Also, two players went on the COVID list, those players being wide receiver Juwan Jennings and safety Jaworski Tart. As well as day, Nick Bosa and D4 did not participate in 11 on 11 as they are trying to ease the two into reps. I really won't get into 11 on 11 this day just because of how it was reported by mostly everyone the defense was at the top of his game that much, but don't worry, there's a lot to talk about for days 2 for 4. So the people interviewed today were Kyle, Jimmy, Debo, Fred, and Juszczyk. Most common questions were about Trey for obvious reasons, which all guys were positive about how he performed. I feel the main takeaways were Jimmy's attitude and the praise given to Mohamed Sanu. In the case of Jimmy, he seems more carefree and loose, which is also how his teammates describe him. I don't know if this will replicate the actual games, but from reports he's taking more risk because honestly he has to, knowing who he has eyeing for his spot. And as the saying goes, iron sharpens iron, and that seems to be happening this training camp. With Muhammad, it is also a case of new energy. He didn't have the best 2020. Don't know who did actually, but he's back and more motivated to win the position at wide receiver 3. Day 2, both Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel looked apart as the top two receivers that the 49ers have, with Ayuk having a couple of impressive catches and Deebo showing he's more than a running back by dominating the middle of the field while displaying bursts of speed. Also to note, with the wide receiver Jalen Hurd participating in individual drills but no 11 on 11 or 7 on 7. Also during the 11 on 11, Trey Sermon was the main running back with Elijah Mitchell, getting a few reps and was noted to be the most explosive running back on the field. Speaking about 11 on 11 and 7 on 7, let's see how the quarterbacks performed today. As I said before, day 1, the defense was still figuring things out, but they bounced back on day 2, in which the two QBs combined for 6 straight incompletions. Though it is known, Lance did have a strong 6 completion stretch today. The people interviewed today were OC Mike McDaniel, DC D'Amico Ryans, and notable players including Bosa and Trey Lance. Honestly, I gotta say, Mike and D'Amico know their stuff. You can tell when they are asked actual football questions, the knowledge that they have is fantastic, and they seem like future head coach candidates. Notable from Trey Lance was how he talked about his relationship with Jimmy, with it being very much not awkward, and they're basically friends off the field, so hopefully that stops people from trying to say there's awkwardness and tension in that QB room. Bosa said he should be ready for week 1, which is great news. Also, he was asked if he was vaccinated, and he said he still think about it, which in all honesty shouldn't have surprised anyone. Day 3 was a bit shorter than the rest, but still there are a few things to talk about. First, Bosa and Hurd didn't practice at all. Shannon said it was a rest day because of them still recovering from ACL injuries. He said for Bosa he will miss every third practice. So let's talk about 11-11 and 7-on-7. So the notable thing was it was very good outing from the top 2 QBs, but some things were noticed. Notably, Jimmy G was himself. He showed what he was great at doing, completing his first 6 passes around the 5 yards, and mostly all of them were 5 yards from the yard of scrimmage. Then he proceeded to miss his next 3 passes. Then his last completed pass was a deep route to Kittle. Then there was Lance, and his main problem, it seemed, is that he was throwing the ball too high, which was a thing he did occasionally in college. Also, his timing was off, which is something all rookies deal with, and the only way to fix said things is reps, which is what the preseason is for. This is probably the most interesting practice, which isn't saying much, but hey, it really was interesting. So let's just jump to 11-11. This was the notable thing here. During the 11-11, Jimmy G threw 2 picks. One was because he didn't see Fred Warner, the top linebacker on this team and in the NFL. And the other one was described as him being indecisive with the ball, double clutching, and front double was described as a punt pass, which was intercepted by Jason Verrett. While Lance was fantastic, his reps had a mix of things, but mostly it was read options that completely confused the defense. It was reported Trey had open field on a lot of them, but the thing is that he was drafted to play QB, not running back, and from reports there are still things he needs to fix. On some of the throws today, he was bailed out by the wide receivers, and since most of the pass rush wasn't there that much, he and Jimmy had all day to throw, so it is consistent on why he was so good today. Now, what does this all mean? Well, currently nothing. Don't get me wrong, the interceptions and picks are consistent with Jimmy, and Trey still looks good as he was today. This will turn into a competition, but honestly, we still have a whole preseason to get through, and they currently aren't even wearing pads. The one thing that changes how people play the game due to the extra rate and a whole lot of other things. Because anyone can look good throwing in a t-shirt. Question is, can it be replicated in pads? So what can we gather from these 4 days? Well, first off, no one is injured. Give a round of applause to the 49ers for that. 5 people on the roster aren't currently vaccinated. I hope that changes soon, because the 49ers to lose death due to anything is always a bad thing. Another thing, the D-line is dominant. Guys who are considered deaf on this team could be starters on others. So the hope from the team is that this will be a better line than 2019. Things that happen, and also Mohamed Sanu seems to be a lock currently for wide receiver 3, but that may change when pads start to get on. And for special teams, Ayuk is trying to become the punt returner. There's a case really about how Trey Sermon is doing his job at being the workhorse back, so Raheem Mostert doesn't have to get as many reps. And Godman's looking good, but we still have to wait for pads about him. Also, I just want to say one thing. You can't just crown Lance after 4 practices. You just can't. Sure, he looks good now, but what does he do in pads more preliminarily during the preseason? If he outperforms Jimmy G, then yes, it shouldn't be a question on who should be one in week 1. So yeah, that's all I had today. I know I probably missed talking about some things, but I was trying to get to the interesting parts in my opinion. If you guys want more in-depth stuff, 49ers Gold Mine is a good source for that. But anyways, thanks for watching, and see you guys the next time. The 49ers have an off day.